Hello, friends. Welcome to another episode of Soul Led Living, this time business edition. We are going to talk about your voice, your authentic expression, because man, I just was hearing that what you want, what you're striving for, what you see, in the future in your mind's eye has so much to do with the unlocking of your voice. I was really getting like, unlock me and I will show you the way. So I just felt like it's such an important topic. We haven't gone over it. I'm doing it a little bit differently. Usually I deliver messages, but this time I'm delivering messages, but I broke it down a little differently. Kind of how, do we unlock it? Why is it blocked? What does it really sound like? To really just give you the full picture of how you are meant and destined to authentically express yourself. I truly see a version of you that is truly, authentically, fully expressed. And what is on the other side is so much impact, it's the world you've been dreaming of. That's what's on the other side of cracking open and unlocking your true authentic expression. This episode was actually inspired by a video I was watching of Florence and the Machine. I don't know if you've heard of this woman, her band. I forgot her last name, but you've definitely seen her. You've definitely heard her music. But if you haven't seen her lately, I'd recommend just like watching a recent video of hers, maybe on Instagram. And this is like full expression. Like you see her walking on the stage, and as she's singing, at least when she's singing, she is in full expression. And what's interesting is that because she's in full expression of, singing the way that she does and making the sounds that she does from her voice, even like her hair, her look, what she's wearing is this so cohesive expression of her authentic self. You can just see it. And I was watching this video, I was like, oh, this is a fully expressed person. And fully expressed is something I'm always looking for. I actually want to write a book on it one day, like to be fully expressed. I think that is what we are seeking. I don't think we like always know how to put that into words. But from when I, do so many readings, I just get this feeling that we just like want to be fully ourselves. And we don't even know what that means. Like that is such a big loaded, statement, but fully expressed. And it starts with the voice, which is within the throat center, the throat chakra. It's blue. And it is about our authenticity. And what happens is like as we move into this authentic expression, then our life becomes an authentic mirroring of that authenticity. So then I think that a lot of what we strive for, and even when we're thinking about like destiny, I think about destiny as the result of living in alignment to who we truly are, to what our essence truly is. So the soul's like always trying to express itself through this human body, but we're human and we have all these little blocks and we have all these biases and things all these programming things we have been taught. So this sound that is whatever like Nikki is, truly like the sound of her is always trying to find place within my body to be its true essence. And to me, destiny is a result of that sound being expressed consistently, because I think we can express it every once in a while. And I bet you're authentic in some parts of your life, but not in all of them, right? I never forget, like my dad was such a different person at work than he was at home. He's a beautiful person all around, but at work, so he's a physician, and specifically when he was in the hospital, it was really interesting that at some point my dad left the hospital. He was a neonatologist, and then he left and he went to pediatrics. And just because he had both, and I guess pediatrics was like a little bit easier at some point, so he went into like being a pediatrician and being in an office. And it was interesting that like that was not his vibe. He loved being in the hospital. So ultimately he moved into working in the pediatric ER. And every time I would see him there and like just the way he would interact with people, or his like specifically his coworkers, like just people saw him so differently. Like the younger doctors always saw him as like a mentor, and like he was this cool guy that knew like about a lot of things, and he was like seen as cool, which I thought was really funny because at home he was not seen that way. And I think he kind of was dragged down a lot by like kind of his responsibilities at home. So he was definitely fully expressed at work. But at home, I think he struggled to find his full expression. So I think, like me, that's why he's always been seeking work. He's been retired now for like 2 years, and he keeps telling me he's going to go back and work again. I'm like, Dad, I don't know. I don't know if that's a good idea. But anyways, I think that sometimes we can be expressed in certain parts of our lives, but not in others. And I think the full expression, what we're truly looking for is where like all those areas of life, we feel like an authentic expression of ourselves. So again, you can maybe think about the areas that you are doing a good job at and areas that maybe you're lacking in. I brought this into the business episode because what I'm feeling overall for those of us who have businesses, the authentic voice is the key. But if you're thinking about your personal life as well, do it. But I'm just seeing that like this voice and we might even call it branding. It's like you might even call it like the voice of your brand or branding, but it actually starts with us. So I wanted to go over that today and, give you even I think like steps to like letting what you see in your third eye come to be through expressing your authentic self. So my first question to your authentic voice was, well, why are you blocked? Like, what the hell? And the first thing I got was the patriarchy. Like, it's the patriarchy. And I see the patriarchy block almost in all of my readings. It's a really interesting block to see. And what it looks like, it's usually on the on the person's like mindset, like around their head. And it's a little block that comes from patriarchy programming. And patriarchy programming is just like, be a good girl, whatever, all the things for many, many generations that women have been taught, right? Don't say this, you're going to sound scandalous. Like, don't wear this, you're going to look like a slut. Like, stay quiet, be polite, be kind, all these things. And that is the main block. And it is something that no matter like how much you've worked on your own expression, it is almost like original sin. It has been passed down for so many generations that it is a group effort is what I was getting. That like we are working with lineages before us, lineages after us to really get to this place. I have goosebumps. Gosh, the ancestors love to just like show up in my sessions and just give me all the goosebumps. But anyways, we are working with our past and we are working with our future ancestors to really unblock this. We are a big part of this. I think this is specifically why we see so many women interested in brands, in their own business, because it is a place where the only way to truly be like successful in the way that many of us see is through authentic expression. So it's like the best schooling to open up this throat center that will definitely benefit the people that come after us as well. So it's the patriarchy. That's like one of the big blocks. But there's also other personal blocks. So one is like, there's this fear of being misunderstood. Like somehow I have to speak in a certain way or make sense of things in a certain way so that everybody can understand or help the people that are maybe been given to me, right? So I feel like the people that have been given to me, right? My siblings, my parents, my childhood friends. It's kind of been, life has given them to me. It's not necessarily like my voice didn't really bring them to me because your voice develops with time. So these are people that have been given to me by life. And sometimes in order to stay in connection with these people that are from my tribe, right? These people that I've known for so long, I feel like I need to speak in a certain way where they actually can understand me. So, which is a funny thing, right? My older brother is a doctor and I do this. So I, in a weird way, to kind of sometimes communicate or meet him halfway, I might not even be meeting him halfway. I might like go completely his way because I'm trying to stay in relationship with him. So I don't want to speak another language than him because then we do not have a relationship, and I love him and I value him. But if I do that a little too much, and if there's a bunch of people in my life that are like my brother, then I will not be a full expression of myself. So the idea is that I try to work my voice as much as possible so that that voice starts to attract my real people into my life, and the people that were given to me in life, that we find a way to, meet halfway and to take up enough space that I can take up enough space in that relationship, right? So it's this fear of not being understood. And so you might find yourself changing the way you talk, or even, let's say, being afraid of having a podcast or doing marketing and writing it like the way you really want to write it, or speak it the way you want to speak it, because you're like, oh, they're not going to get me. And perhaps think about it this way, that like, yeah, maybe they're not going to get you, but maybe those are not your people, right? There's the way that I speak, there's just a certain person that's going to get this, and there's a lot of people that are not going to get this, but I'm not speaking to everybody, right? So that's one thing. The third block that I was seeing was, which is probably a big one, is the fear of losing people. So, and this could be happening in your business right now, right? Maybe you're really meant to pivot. Maybe you've been expressing yourself based off like an older version of you, and now you have been transforming, you've been changing so much that if you start to express yourself in a different way, there's this fear of losing your base. Or think about in our own lives, like I said, if I really change the way that I talk, I might lose my brother, right? Unless he's willing to also, meet me halfway, which is how my brother and I work. Like, we are still fully connected, still speak the same language. But let's say if he was, and I think it's his wife that brings us in the middle, his Scorpio doctor wife, who like connects with me. But I might isolate some of the people I love if I'm like truly authentic to myself. So therefore, I'm scared of all the people that I will leave. But I would say that I have found in my life that more than anything, people try to continue to meet me, because as I keep moving into my more authentic expression, it kind of inspires others to meet me there as well. So I would say that I haven't really lost anybody like through being authentically me. I mean, you do lose people like, in work and stuff like that. I was just dealing with somebody that like was messaging me from an email, and she's like, I've been trying to get off your email list, and I keep getting your emails. I'm like, okay, well, I am not resonating with you anymore. Like, whatever I'm expressing like is not resonating. So yes, you do lose people, but you gain, right, the people that are truly for you. We've all heard that. So those are some of the blocks, and it might be nice to kind of think about your own block. If you're realizing you have a patriarchy block, okay, well then you're gonna have to go into some of like the feminine rewilding that like is taught a lot. There's Women Who Run with Wolves. There's some great, obviously, like I think Glennon Doyle does some good work around it as well. There's some good books around those conversations that could be, and there's tons of women that are out there doing really good work. So look for that and kind of see like, okay, how can I break this down more, and realize that like, it's not my fault. This has totally been passed down to me, and I love them because they did the best that they could, but I'm really going to try to see how much I can break through in this one generation. And then if you see that your block is more about the fear or trying to be understood, or really consider and lean into the people you are truly connecting with, and the people you really do love, and the people you really want to talk to, like the clients you really want to talk to. That happened to me once in the beginning of my work. I was reading this book, gosh, if I can only remember, it was a business book. It'll come to me. But anyways, the author was talking about how he like created this online business, and then he woke up one day and he was like, I hate my business. Like, I hate what I'm doing, blah, 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 which some of us who have been in business long enough definitely have been there before. And he's like, but what I realized was that I hated the people I was working with. And so he actually did not like the client he was attracting. And he was like, he realized that he was communicating in a certain way that was attracting a certain type of person. And that has definitely happened to me in the past as well, that like I was communicating, attracting a type of person, and then I didn't like the type of person. I was like, oh, why am I attracting all these people? And I was like, well, it was a way that I was communicating, and it was, a process of like learning what truly I wanted to communicate and what was a true expression. And it was actually an expression with more boundaries, funny enough. It was when I lacked boundaries in my communication that brought me like a type of client or a type of audience that I couldn't really connect with. So really knowing that there is power in your voice, that actually you can have a more joyful business, and you can hang out with people that you love every single day, that you get along with, your clients, people that you would actually want to have dinner with, by communicating in a way that is true to you. So I thought that was an interesting manifestation of a misaligned voice, was like the clients. So yeah. All right. So that was a little bit on why it's blocked. So my next question was like, okay, cool. How do we unblock it? Like, what are some things we can do? So first message I was getting was that we really had to get out of our head and into our body. I've seen this modeled very, very well and in a very beautiful way. Those of you may know, do you know Lindsay from Almost 30? She's a friend of mine. And I remember we were talking about something and I asked her this like deep question basically. And she goes, yeah, no, that's a good question. Give me a second. Let me feel into my body. She closes her eyes, puts her hands on her heart. And it was like, fine, it was a deep question, but it was still like a question in our conversation. You know what I mean? Like it was nothing, like it wasn't like an interview question or anything like that. And she took this moment and she felt her body. She slowed down. She felt her body and she felt what her body wanted to say, kind of like what was coming from her body through her heart and then through her throat center. And I was like, whoa, it was like transformation in front of my eyes. I thought it was the most amazing thing because typically we are answering from our minds, right? Like we are answering from like our logic, what we've learned, our biases, everything that's here, all the judgment, all that stuff. So instead, kind of getting out of that space and into the body. Every time I start this podcast episode, I put my feet on the ground and I really feel like the energy coming from the ground and all the way up through my body. And I tap into my heart. I feel my heart and I'm like, okay, for the remainder of the show, I'm going to stay here. So really being able to get out of your head and into your body and slowing down, right? Like actually slowing down so you can actually sense your body in that moment. And it's just a process of bringing your awareness to your body in that moment. Of course, we're not going to answer every question like that, but I think that when we get into the habit, especially for like the bigger questions, things that are not black and white, all that, if we can spend a little bit of time making that connection, I really feel that it becomes a habit with time. Like with time, you're allowing your body to make more noise and to be more communicative. So you just feel it more rather than being really every time you're getting asked questions or every time you're communicating, just feeling your head, like getting all the information from there. Instead, coming into the body. So that was the number one way of how to unlock this voice. Second was to really allow these like butterflies to like move through your stomach, which I thought was funny. I was getting that the way we express ourselves is completely connected to how we identify. So if I identify as a kind person, I can only express in a way that kind people would express, whatever I think that means. If I identify as a mother, then maybe like whatever my beliefs or whatever my paradigm is around a mother, then I'm only going to allow myself to express that way. And it's funny because like I think about when I became a mother, there was an aspect of being a mother that was very mama bear to me, like that you could like come out and like get mad at people if they were like messing with you or messing with your child. It's something that because my mom was like that, so that was okay for me. That was part of like the mom package, like that was part of the identity. So funny enough, like as I started to identify as a mother, this like part of me like unlocked where I allowed myself to like kind of like, I don't know, I don't want to say snap, but I remember one day like somebody messing with Allie at school and I just like marched into that school, which was very out of character for me for a while, but because like I had permission, because I was now identifying as a mother, I had this like permission to act that way. It was very interesting what came out of me like in that meeting, which I had never seen when I was a maiden, when I wasn't married and when I didn't have kids. So sometimes identities unlock the voice a little bit, but often the identities keep the voice small. So, the reason I bring that up is because the identity is in your stomach. This is like your solar plexus, your self-esteem, your self-worth. And it looks like when we want to challenge the way we express and we want to be more authentic, we're going to feel some like anxiety or worry, like kind of like a butterfly type feeling in your stomach, maybe even in your chest. And I was just getting that we need to let that pass, like almost like let it move like a wave and be like, oh yeah, it's very normal to feel uncomfortable here because I am challenging who I have told myself I am. Or I'm challenging what people think I am. I'm challenging my identity, right? Like whatever my identity has been, I'm challenging maybe even my identity in this relationship. So, for example, using that story about my father, there was probably ways that he can express himself at work because he wasn't identifying maybe as a husband or a father, and maybe the identity of husband and father were very limiting. So if he tried to express himself the way he would at work and family, he would probably feel that uncomfortable feeling in his body because there was limitations to this identity at home, if that makes sense. So let that wave, that is normal. You're gonna if when you become more authentic, you are going to challenge old identities and watch how they show up in different relationships or in different categories, because you might not see it like in your relationship, but you might really see it at work, right? So, and then asking yourself, oh, cool, interesting. What identity am I claiming that is keeping me small here? That is like making me feel these butterflies. The butterflies are just the movement of, going against that identity. It's really like almost the identity is too small and the energy within you is too big, and it's trying to like push that small identity, and by pushing it, you feel those butterflies. You feel a little anxious, you feel a little weird in your body. And then asking ourselves, what is a better identity for me? And especially like if you kind of have an idea or you've seen your third eye, who you want to be in business or where you want your brand to go into the future and just see that version of her. How is she identifying? What is she telling herself? Is she calling herself a kind person? Is she calling herself a badass? Is she calling herself like what is she identifying as? And then can we bring that identity to the present? So if I'm like, oh, she identifies as an artist, let's say, and maybe that identity like opens up things for you, like it allows you to have more space to express. You bring that into the present and you start identifying as the artist. So creating an identity that can let your voice expand. And sometimes you can go with a greatest identity, which is like, I'm a soul, I'm a child of God, I'm a, where there's very little restrictions, when it comes to like those identity, or I'm a free spirit, or I'm a soul, whatever it may be, something that is big enough, wide enough, but also safe, because sometimes it's nice to have some boundaries around our identity, but something that allows you to be more true to your true authentic voice. Okay, and now for some of the fun stuff. So what does it sound like? I wanted to know, like, what is like the sound? How could we know if we're in our authentic voice? What does it sound like? And one thing I was getting was that really quick, I got like what it doesn't sound like before I got what it does sound like. But what it does not sound like, or what we might be mistaking our voice for, is professionalism. Somehow we are calling something professional, like we're saying like, oh no, this is my professional voice, or maybe this is my marketing voice, or like this is the way I need to write it because this is how marketing works, or this is how I need to write the email because this is what I was taught in my corporate job. We're calling it professionalism when actually it is self-censorship. So especially in business, when it comes to that, I feel like you might have to toss out what you've learned, which I know is hard. The good stuff will stay within. So like if you learn some marketing techniques, if you've learned some corporate techniques, like the good stuff is still, like the good news is like it's still there. You know what I mean? Like it's in you. You're not going to lose it, but you might have to go into your writing, to your expression, to your podcast show, to your YouTube video, whatever, and kind of put that aside and not look for professionalism. Like it's professionalism is not the North Star because it's still not the authentic voice. So it just ends up censoring us. So find a better North Star. Don't try to be like, I want to make a video that's very professional. Like, don't say that. Say like, I want to make a video that's like really true to my purpose, really true to who I am. I want to make a video that really connects with my ideal person. That would be better than seeking professionalism because it's just self-censorship. The other thing I was getting about what it sounds like is you may call it unhinged. Like it's a version of you that you may be like, oh, this is like me unhinged. Like this is me a little bit crazy. This is me like a little bit funny or a little bit off, a little bit weird. And what's funny about that is that the reason you call it unhinged is because you only use that voice ever so often. Like you might be a certain person in your group of friends, let's say, and every once in a while you insert this like unhinged version of you, let's say, and people find it funny or whatever, but like it catches people off guard only because it's not consistent. But what's funny is that if you were a little bit more consistent with this like unhinged voice, you would see that it would just like truly be you, and I just see that unhinged voice actually creating a super cool audience, like creating a really cool return. So it's an unhinged version of you. So kind of, because it's an uncensored version of you. So if you've ever heard yourself say something a little unhinged, and you're like, oh my gosh, like you caught somebody off guard when you said it, just know the only reason you're catching them off guard is because they know you as a watered down voice. They know us as like a half of an expression, and it may not even be like a person that's ready for our full expression. And also, they just haven't seen it consistently. So I would say that if you see these little parts of you that you're like, oh, I really liked when I said that, I really liked that about me, or like that really feels true to me, I would try to see it's a vibration. It's actually a vibration. It's a state of being that you can get into that is true to you, and see if you can hold on to that state a little bit longer. So it's not about forcing what you actually said, because voice is not really about words. It's about an expression of a vibration that I'm able to stay in. So if you saw the vibe that you were in when you said that thing that sounded like a little unhinged or whatever, can you stay in that vibe longer? Can you try to hold that vibe longer when you do write something for work, or when you make a video, or when you do marketing or whatever? Can you stay in that vibe? Can you hold it and like expand it to be a little bit bigger, basically? So it's kind of, yeah, so it's funny. Unhinged. It reminds me of Sophie, who does my social media. Every once in a while she does these like really funny, she has these like funny ideas in her head of things that she wants to do, and she's like, I don't know, like, do you think this is like a little unhinged? And I'm like, no, it's just really you. It's like really who you are. And she calls it unhinged, which is funny. So yeah, try to be consistent with that unhingedness. I actually see it creating I really see it drawing a cool audience. Like it draws crowds, like this unhinged version, which, think about it, think about like some of the bigger podcasts or big shows or big personality. I mean, that personality is probably like a lot if that would be like your best friend or your partner or whatever, but it's really like a consistent unhinged voice of theirs that they can hold for a long period of time, and that's kind of what's created this personality, if you think about it. So yeah, it might be what you consider unhinged. Number 3 is, okay, I'm like this, it sounds like loving yourself more than you are worried about protecting the other person. Let me say that again, because I don't think it made that much sense. But typically, we have created this voice in an effort to protect the other person. So I'm not going to say it this way, or I'm not going to be super blunt, or I'm not going to say it at all, or I'm not going to interrupt them, or I'm not going to counter what they say, because I don't want to hurt this person's feelings. I am trying to protect them. But is there a way to still love another person, but not at your expense? So is there a way to love myself more than my desire or my instinct or whatever to protect the other person on the other side? So yeah, like, I know it's nice. We don't want to hurt people's feelings. We don't want to make people feel uncomfortable. But if it's getting in the way of me being my authentic, full expression, then maybe it's not a good thing, So really kind of looking at our need to protect. And maybe you might know it as like the need to please, to please another person. But to me, it feels like a protection from you. It's like, I am too much. My voice is too strong. My ideas, my thoughts are going to insult you. I don't know them enough to even be able to defend them, but I'm going to insult you. So rather than make you feel uncomfortable, I'm just not going to say anything at all. But then you're also saying that that person matters more than you. So I'm wondering if there's a world where you could either love yourself more than the other person, or at least balance it out a little bit and be like, well, I don't understand how that is fair to me. Like, I don't really think it's fair that I censor myself to make another person feel comfortable. Can we meet in the middle? And what is up with me having to hold and caretake everybody's emotions? Right? Like, why am I the holder and the caretaker of everybody's emotions on the other side? So I do my work, I clean my side of the street, but I may offend people based on what I say, or I may catch them off guard, or I may, make them look at themselves in a certain way. And I don't know how much of that is really my fault. How much of that is really my responsibility? That's the question. And lastly, I was really getting that your voice is funny. It's funny. It's intimate. It feels like you're an insider with your person. Like, it feels like you are in the center of your group. So like, whoever you're communicating with, whoever you're talking to, I see you being like very comfortable in the group. So think about like whoever you're the most intimate with, like whatever group, and it feels like it's not one, you can't really think about one person, it's like a group of people, and that you're comfortable with sitting in the center. Like, I think about growing up in high school, we would have these like giant sleepovers, because in Miami, we just had like huge groups of friends. I have a huge group of friends, and we would do these like sleepovers of like 10 of us, 12 of us, whatever. And we'd all sit down, we would like put our beds together, and we're all like snuggling together and like loving on each other. And there was just this comfort in that circle. And these are my friends till this day. There's just a comfort. Actually, on our, we did a 40th trip to Napa, and one night we stayed in a house that was on The Bachelor. So it was like this really beautiful, like breathtaking house. And there was like this one night that we just decided to stay in, and we were all on one like giant king bed and just like snuggling together, because there's just an intimacy amongst us, and there's a closeness amongst us, and there's a comfort of like being in the center of that group. So that's kind of the way I was seeing it. I was just seeing like your group, your community, like whoever your people are, right? Even if you don't even have any of them, or you don't know any of them yet, I just see you being like very cozy in the middle of it, and just kind of feeling like we're all so connected and intimate. I can say these things. Because like there's so much love for each other, and there's so much understanding. It's not like me and my friends are by any means like cookie cutters of any of like, no, none of them. I've told you that they've never even asked me for a reading. Like, we're all very different, and all have different beliefs, but there's a closeness and an intimacy and there's a love. So when you feel safe that way, you can be your true self and be like a full expression of yourself. And that's how I see your authentic voice. Like, you are in the middle of people that truly, truly love you, and that you also love them back. And because you're in the middle of this group, you can share and express and be an expression. And that it was funny. That's just funny. Funny and a closeness. So that's what I got for you guys today about your authentic voice. I hope you took notes. I hope you received messages for yourself. I hope this was supportive, because I really want to see this within you. I want to see that. Obviously, I've always on a journey to be a greater expression, authentic expression of myself. Like, who am I at my soul's core, my essence? How can I express that more? What are these like blocks that I need to like move through? Because I can just see it. I see it. Like, I can see that you see something in the future. Like, you see something for yourself, and you're like, no, I really believe this is going to happen. Like, this is my destiny. But it's your throat that gets you there. It's your voice. It's your authentic expression. And I will keep talking about this, because maybe this is like not even enough. Maybe there's more to share, but I'm hoping that this gets those wheels turning. Thank you so much for being here with me. I love you so much and I'm so grateful always. If you enjoy any of these episodes, it would mean so much if you shared it with a friend and, share the love, put it on Instagram, put it on your socials, share it in your group chat. I would super appreciate that. Sending you so much love, and I cannot wait to see what manifests from you being an authentic expression of yourself.